Buddhist practitioner. My age around 15, 16. Before that, no interest, no enthusiasm. Around 14, 15, then I developed some interest. Then particularly after I reached India, even when I was the final examination, so I escaped. Then that real scholar, the Mongolian, left. Right. Of course, my tutors, of course, great scholar, but that Mongolian. So then she told him, okay, then little. Not so, because of that.
Not to the point that you get drunk.
I think that's good advice. So I also now repeat is that those people who want to take sort of upasaka vow, they drink, if possible, now no longer drink. If really difficult, then little. So the 5% is not much difficulties, isn't it? So in any way, these, I think 4, at least 3, we have to sort of restrict. Then better motivated with for nirvana, for salvation. That possibly, if possible, think for benefit to, because of that, to achieve Buddhahood in order to serve infinite sentient being. Then same practice, but because of the motivation, the practice becomes then much more powerful, much more powerful, like that. So then, that the Kunzhou Sulu Gyalsung Zhuo, Jiangbu said, Zhuo Zhuo Che Kunzhou Gyalsung Zhuo Shang Dang, Che Kunzhou Dan Bang Zhou Bang Ba Da, Bang Zhou Bang Bai Chawa Da, Bang Zhi Gi Nying Bu, that the Che Kunzhou Oma Di Zhe Ne, that is just to be Da Da Ne, Nye Wa Nga Bang, Nye Wa Nga Bang Sam Den, Nye Wa Nga Bang Ya, that the Ko Jie Men Che Yu Den, Ko Chik Di Ji Tu Shi Le Tu Si.
And so here, in order to take the vow, the layperson's vow, the first one you must take refuge. It is done on the basis of having taken refuge in the triple gem, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. But mainly, you must reflect or remind yourself about the qualities of the Dharma, the Dharma jewel, which are twofold. One is that Dharma jewel is that freedom, the freedom that you have, that you attain within your mind, which is the freedom from the bondage, freedom from the ignorance and all these negative emotions and so forth. And then also the path or the factor which actually leads to that freedom, which is the true path. And so the antidote that leads to that path. And so these are these actually comprise the Dharma jewel. And of course, we are not yet there, but then what we can determine in ourselves is to reach that goal, and therefore do as much good as possible, and to avoid or restrain yourself, refraining yourself from doing all these negative actions, so that whatever you practice in these, your practice of virtue, wholesome practices, tend towards that goal. So even if you have not reached the goal yet, but it actually resembles sort of thing the goal that you would reach. So that has to be determined.
Now just repeat. Those people who wish taking upasaka vow, hold.
Please hold your hands together.
And imagine. Yes. As I mentioned earlier, develop some kind of wish or desire. I would like to take upasaka vow from you. That's the real meaning. So now repeat after me. So of course I speak Tibetan.
So please, if you wish to look at the text, it's on page number 32 in this.
32.
32.
32. 32. Okay.
第二位，我真的是。
Right. Okay.
So repeat after me.
Yeah.
You should repeat, Master, please pay attention to me and until my death. Master, please pay attention to me. I, by this name, say your name here. From this time on, and as long as I'm alive, seek refuge in the best of my guidance. I seek refuge in the town. I seek refuge in the best of Master, please consider me as an overseer until my death.
Now, second time. Now,
please repeat for the second time. Those who are on stage, please kneel on your right knee. So let us recite these two verses, number 23 and 24, three times.
Three times. The first time, second time, you see your enthusiasm, you see increase. And then third time, 全就是你阶梯性 study, messenger check. 这些的老如果是老记在的多数的意思，你那样就多数样的，我每年就审计了什么都多数样的，没有马些年这样的，但是这东西是不一样的。
So when you repeat, you recite these lines 3 times. At the third time, third recitation, reading. Then recitation, when you come to this verse, line 2 in verse number 24, think of having generated this bodhicitta within yourself. And then with the next 2 lines of verse number 24, then you should feel convinced that you have received, taken the bodhisattva vows. Now here, for those of you who actually do not have the willpower yet, or the determination or interest in taking the bodhisattva vows as such, then you should not think that you have taken the bodhisattva vow when you recite these last 2 lines in verse number 24. You may just, if you are interested only to take the generate bodhicitta itself, just taking part in the bodhicitta ceremony, aspiring bodhicitta ceremony, you should just stop there and not to think of taking the bodhisattva vows as such.
There are those non-Buddhist and who have some sort of faith, those of Jesus Christ or Muhammad, and so on. So you can visualize those you are some master and make some kind of pledge. Now I follow their teaching of love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline. I will follow this practice sincerely, seriously. That kind of pledge you can do. And then those non-believers simply reflect those people who doing something very self-centered, doing something some different sort of activities out of extreme self-centered attitude. It's no good. So use our common sense. Now, because it's extreme self-centered attitude always brought more difficulties, more problem. Now, I will emphasize the importance of more sort of sense of concern of others' well-being. That's the ultimate source of happiness oneself. So thinking this line. Now, read.
It is the great sun that finally removes the misty ignorance of the world. It is the quintessential butter from the churning of the milk of Dharma. For all those guests traveling on the path of conditioned existence who wish to experience the bounties of happiness, this will satisfy them with joy and actually.
Buddha Dharma, now completed. So again, afternoon, we will see some talk about secular ethics. That's my favorite subject. And there's something universal. Buddhism, there's limitation. Only Buddhist, like other religion also, there's limits. There's a boundary. Then secular ethics, so entire several living human beings, so, thank you. Finished now.
The all-knowing Shakyamuni, whose essence is the four bodies, Amitabha, Mamitaya, the Supreme Arya Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, Vajrapani, the foreign Tara, the victor, and the host of courageous Buddha's sons. Seven great successors, the six ornaments to the two supreme ones, the 18 Nasitas, the 16 elders, and so forth, who think only of helping in the doctrine and wanderers, the supreme being and all the bodhisattvas. Please listen. The supreme able one to encompass youngs through completing the two collections of wisdom and merit went beyond to all-knowing compassion and ability. By the power of this truth, made entire doctrine of the victorious flourish. For a long time, the pioneers who first opened the door for the light of Dharma in the land of Southern mountains, Chandrakshetra, Padmasambhava, and Trisungeta, the translators, the Pandits, the Vidyadharas, and the 25 disciples, by the power of your previous pledges, made the victor's doctrine in the land of snow flourish for a long time. The extensive teachings, which are like the jewel stars, containing the great treasure of profound practice, illuminated by the bright rays of the profound and extensive path's essence, made his victor's doctrine in the land of snow flourish for a long time. War, famine, malicious thoughts and deeds, may even your name become unknown throughout the world. May things may goodness increase within the island inhabitants, and an ocean of happiness and joy spread in all directions. Henceforth may I too, my soul is striving in hearing, thinking, and meditating on the complete path of doctrine, the profound view of emptiness, and the last mind of religion, quickly touches ground, temporary and eternal happiness.
Talk here.
Ya no va, no va. ¿Y dónde va? ¿Cómo lo No sound.
Brothers and sisters.
One time my public talk, he introduced me and then he described me as a good Christian. So then I also respond, I consider you as a good Buddhist. There is some reason. We both have same practice of love, compassion, tolerance, forgiveness, self-discipline. And with contentment, with practice of contentment, some kind of simplicity life. So it is quite, quite logical. You see, he considered me as a good Christian. I consider him as a good Buddhist. If we look from wider perspective. Now here, since our ex-parliament speaker already mentioned something. Now I would like to share with you, which year I can't remember. This is some sort of, flood in mainland China. So she gives some instruction. And some of the Tibetan forest area, she should stop deforestation because of the flood. You see, related with that. So like that, the Tibetan ecology, take care about the environment, is something not only 6 million Tibetans' interest, but as life is related with these rivers. Then secondly, some Chinese ecologists, roof of the world, one thing. Then another thing, I would like to share Tibetan Buddhist culture and Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism originally come from Nalanda tradition. So the original sort of source of Chinese Buddhism also come from Nalanda. In fact, I think at least 3 students of Buddha. Then jokingly, I telling Chinese Buddhist brothers, sisters, as far as knowledge is concerned, younger students' knowledge not bad. So, historically, China, Buddhist country, when I was in Peking, and many places in China, Dongbei area, and also see the southern China, and many places. Of course, I didn't sort of have an opportunity to visit Fujian area and Guangdong area. Otherwise, most places I had the opportunity to visit many temples. So therefore, since both Buddhist tradition, you see, originally come from Nalanda, and nowadays in China, around 300 millions or 300 to 400 millions Buddhist Buddhist population. I think China, now biggest sort of Buddhist population, few hundred to millions, impossible. In any way, now Buddhism, many Chinese Buddhists also is showing interest about Tibetan Buddhism. I notice, I think these days, every week, some Chinese from mainland China, came to see me. When we met, many of them tear. And also, when I give some teaching, some lecture on Buddhism with Chinese translation, some Chinese from mainland China, a few hundred, often to join, like that. So, as a Buddhist monk, as a Buddhist practitioner, like any other religion, no national boundaries. If some sort of help to any person, it is our duty to serve. Then Buddhist culture, I usually make a distinction. Buddhism and Buddhist culture. Buddhism for Buddhist. Buddhist culture related with society or community. So for example, in Tibet, at least last 4 centuries, there are Muslims, Tibetan Muslims. These Tibetan Muslims are religiously not Buddhist, but their way of life very much in the spirit of Buddhist culture. So these Muslims always very, very peaceful. Almost no record of quarrel. So now the nature of Buddhist culture of peace, culture of non-violence, ultimately culture of compassion. That kind of culture, to some extent, even in humanity, I think we need that. And particularly the country, 1.3 billion millions, most billions, 1.3 billion population, most populated nation on the earth, and cultured people. And generally, I describe Chinese people hard-working, wherever they live, through their sort of realistic, hard-working sort of effort. In America, in India, I think in Australia, and many places, they settle very well. I think among these Chinese community, I think hardly no Chinese beggar. I don't think. Everybody is hard work and work. I think one time, I think Vancouver, I think mayor, one Chinese. So I had some talk. When he first reached Vancouver, in his pocket, $20 or something. Very poor. Then his own hard work, educated, then joined politics, then eventually he became mayor of the city. So these are, I think, examples. Then America, many professors in many big American universities. So we must look holistic way. See, because of some sort of difficulties with the Chinese officials, then some kind of negative attitude towards Chinese brothers, sisters is totally wrong. Even a Muslim, after September 11th event happened, many people, even media, is to consider Islam more or less militant religion. That's totally wrong. After that event, I am Buddhist. Historically, in India, Buddhists suffer a lot under Muslim sort of, what's it, the rajas or kings like that. But past is past. We must talk truthfully, realistically. So I came forward as a defender of Islam. I always telling few mischievous people sort of behavior. Due to that, generalized whole system or whole teaching is totally wrong. Some mischievous people among the Buddhists, among the Hindus, among the Christians, among the Jews, everywhere. So these few handful mischievous people not representing, cannot represent the whole tradition. So like that, Islam, like any other major tradition, you see, talking about love, compassion, forgiveness, like that. So the Chinese people, overall, Chinese people are really remarkable people. I think I love Chinese food. I think many Australians also, I think, love Chinese food, I think. If you say, oh, Chinese bad, I do not take Chinese food, foolish. Isn't it? So, good is good, bad is bad. So we must make a distinction. So therefore, as far as Buddhist culture is concerned, now most populated nation, the people of China, last over 60 years, when I was in China, 1954, 1955, things quite good. Many party members truly dedicated serving to people.
Your life, you take it away what you have learned and share it, and then the world becomes a better place and no China can come up. Now, 2,500 years ago, thousands of years ago, the Jewish people were overtaken by the Babylonians and taken right up into captivity. This small Jewish nation, which was geographically...
Thank His Holiness for making the time in his busy schedule to be here at this gathering for Tibet, and all Australians are overwhelmed and delighted that he's returned with his luminous teachings, so we thank him.
Good. Good.